Draft your LCS team and earn money. Alpha Draft.
Take your LCS experience up a notch. Head over to LOLesports.com and reserve your spot in our studio audience. Just click the tickets link and start planning your trip to the LCS today. But for now, let's keep the action rolling with our next match. It's Team Impulse versus Team Coast. And for Coast, they haven't been able to pick up a win since week 1. They're on a 5-game slide right now. And yesterday, we saw flashes of success as they once again got off to a strong start against Chronologic Gaming.
Yeah, and it's too bad because Coast continued to give up the lead with mid and late game mistakes. Individually, they were actually outplaying CLG in the laning phase and developing a small but still significant lead. But as the teams moved past the early game, Coast kind of seemed to choke a little bit. Yeah. Chris in particular, he was playing so well. And then he just was ineffective in late-game teamfights. He saw an isolated double lift in one fight and decided to go walk in to everybody else. Coast just needs to stick together and have some late-game strategy.
It was too good to be true. He thought it was a mirage. On the other side of this matchup, Team Impulse once again had a champ select that left some people scratching their heads, showing that there is still some work to be done in that aspect.
Yeah, and honestly, the team comp that Impulse were putting together would have worked, but then the last pick, Ezreal, completely broke the team composition. They were actually winning their lanes with their pick lanes, win game strategy, but the composition did not convert whatsoever into late-game teamfights. And I don't want to dwell too heavily on the composition, but in this instance, it kind of serves to underline that individually these are strong players.
Absolutely.
But they're still having issues coming together as a team.
Well, let's see if they can come together here as we check out the starting lineups. On the blue side, it will be Impulse's game. That means Impact will be in the top lane there, Rush in the jungle, Xiao in mid, Apollo at AD carry, and Adrian at support.
And on the red side, it is Coast, with Chris in the top lane, Impaler in the jungle, Jess is in mid lane, Mash on AD carry, and Sheep on support.
Justice was able to get his Ahri yesterday. Actually looked quite good on it, but people have been trying to give him a lot of trouble, and others looking for Impaler to try and start carrying the team, bring what else they brought out in the promotion tournament, and really get Coast going again. Saw some signs of life on Rengar, but really hasn't been going back to it.
I wonder if he will go back to a Rengar more so. Yesterday, Team Coast's champion select was all about banning out Kalista counters and then first picking Kalista. Yeah. It was actually LeBlanc that Jess has ended up playing, and in laning phase it was working
LeBlanc
quite well. It's strange that they're banning Ahri so much because Jess used to be, when he first started being a mid laner, he was only an Ahri player.
Yeah, a little bit of Ahri, a little bit of Ziggs, but he definitely loved that Ahri. We'll be out this game. Lee Sin as well on that ban list with Aurelia and Kassadin so far. So just pretty much roundabout bans. Everybody's getting a little piece of it. Nothing too targeted.
Aurelia banned against Chris often. And we saw kind of why. The 2 games he's gotten to play it.
He was slippery in those games. Man. And it actually made CLG have that tough game. So teams will look for that. You're right.
It's pretty smart bans against Team Coast, knowing what they like.
Kalista, and there's a LeBlanc. It actually will be banned by Jesses this time, obviously. On their side, forced to ban out that strength in the mid lane. The Lissandra pick will be left open, and why not? Grab it up.
Absolutely. I mean, Impact actually hasn't played it yet, but I believe he will be able to if they want to throw it in the top lane. There's also a chance of throwing it down to that mid lane. You can see NALCS win rate, 100%.
100.
10-0. The most successful champion in North American LCS. Obviously, those are working off a pretty small sample size of only 10 games. It is worth noting, though, Impulse willing to first pick it for sure.
Yeah, they're going to easily get that one in. We actually still have seen Lissandra go to the mid lane here in North America as well, so that is an option as Graves and Jarvan getting picked up. I love seeing that Graves is getting so much more playtime. A lot of AD carries have been liking that pick. Across all regions.
Huge amounts of burst damage. Slightly tankier Lucian.
Yeah, no.
In one word.
It's so true. Jarvan picked up as well, so Impaler will still have a top-tier jungler to get in on this game with. You guys always hover the Kha'Zix, but you always never pick it.
Yeah,
Rumble's being hovered as well, but I don't think we're going to get that either.
Rush just wants to play Lee Sin or Kha'Zix, he said.
Yeah.
Although, I feel like the Kha'Zix was all a ruse. You look at the champions he has played, though. He's pretty much just Jarvan and Lee Sin. Jarvan taking away Lee Sin there. He played Rek'Sai yesterday, but did not look super effective, and they're going to wait a little while for that. final pick in the jungle.
Two things that got banned out last game are actually locked in for this game, so that will be Xiao's. Very interesting pickup for the mid lane if they decide to go that way. Morgana could go anywhere as well. This is crazy. I'm sure it's not a Rumble support, though. So I think we figured out a little bit of this puzzle.
Yeah. I'd say Impulse is mid lane Lissandra, top lane Rumble, and a support Morg.
Yep.
Makes the most sense.
Coast now to answer back, seeing a whole heck of a lot of ability power coming out of this Impulse composition. What do they decide they want to throw at it? Sheep on your screen. A veteran of the LCS.
Say
coming in on
Leona.
Coast. Leona be good.
Leona's pretty good against AP-heavy teams just because she can get so much innate tankiness and also builds a face of the mountain and lock it quite easily.
Yeah.
They're going to save their support for last pick, though.
The Narvin combo is picked up. That'll also give Jezz some shots to hit from the back line with Right of the Arcane ultimate. They actually may be going for the Rain Guard. Love to see it. Apollo showing his roots of Wiz Fusion on the Varus hover. And we'll actually see what they decide to go with this game. 37 seconds left to round out the final picks for them of number 8 and number 9 here in Champion Select.
Yeah, talking about the Coast Soul Lane picks, however, it makes sense that they're actually saving their support for a later pick because they can surmise what the Soul Lane matchups already are for Impulse. So they're just going to allow Sheep to pick whatever support he wants to after reacting to the rest of the teams and knowing what AD carry he's up against so that Mash and Sheep can plan a better lane matchup set.
Luciana's left up here. They already have the range to keep people away from Xerath. Maybe a little bit of safety for that, but also a little bit in with Gnar and Jarvan, as we know from the combination. So he has his choice here to round out the team. Coast really need to stop the bleeding here coming into this game. Something needs to happen. We're getting to the middle of the split now. Week 5 obviously comes after 4, so that's half. And these guys need to start making an impact. There's no super week for them to charge back with 4 games, and they're only falling farther and farther behind.
10th seed.
Yeah.
Do not want to be 10th.
No, that's automatic.
Definitely not. It would be by the end of the season. We will be approaching the halfway point next week. It's too early for those guys to be thinking about that, though.
Yeah.
You need to be thinking about this match and the last support pick. It's a little bit strange here, knowing they have the Jarvan Gnar with a Xerath. So they're going to try and keep their composition as neutral as possible with the Thresh so they can be in or out. That's kind of one of Thresh's specialties as a support. He doesn't really fit the tanky support or the peel support. He's a little bit of everything, which fits with what Coast has already picked.
And a little bit of a playmaker that fits into the role of Sheep as well to help these guys get some of the lockdowns they can get and finish off with Jezz's. Still going to look at that mid lane as well. A lot of the mid lanes here in NALCS are definitely sparks flying all the time, as well as the AD carries. It's been great to see the AD carries flourishing in games that the teams aren't. A lot of the AD carries have been producing results like that. Apollo, one of them. I actually believe he is second for AD carries, overall third, rather, for AD carries. So he's actually having a really good season.
Third at CS at 10 average, right. Yes. I mean, it's been Apollo. It has not been Wiz Fusion that has shown up here. He's trying to turn himself into a top 80 carry here in North America, but the team has to be able to back him up. I like the draft here from Impulse. Tons of damage and CC in that one.
Tons of it.
A large amount of damage.
So now that you've gotten a look at the teams and the tons of damage locked in for this match, head over to Twitter and start voting for the team you think will come out ahead. Send hashtag TIPWin or hashtag CSTWin to @LOL Esports. Both of these teams are looking for your support coming off of losses yesterday. Both actually 0-2 coming out of losses so far. Obviously, Coast with that bigger lose streak. So to stop the bleeding with this win would be very good, and very good for Coast, as they're actually trying to figure out, you know, where the troubles are coming from and how to right those wrongs here.
Yeah. And
it's going to be tough.
We just saw a big upset as well.
Yep.
Winterfox taking down Cloud9. Winterfox walked into this week only 1 game ahead of Coast, but they have shot up the rankings to 4-4, whereas Coast needs to try and do something similar. Jessis is on a champion that fits him with the long-range poke. Xiao really has to get up close and personal on Jessis here.
That's right, and facing the Summer Split MVP could be daunting to some, but Jessis thinks Xiao isn't playing on the same level he is.
So when I was watching NA in 2014, I saw that Xiao was a really good mid laner. But his performance this year hasn't been as impressive as last year, so I'm not like really scared or anything. I'm just gonna try to do my best and hopefully he'll go well.
Yeah, well, the thing is, Jess is on a potentially safe champion. He has to be very careful about Xiao closing the range on him. Lissandra, so good with gank support. Obviously, during that play there by Jezz, there was some lane swap invade games going on. Coast able to get numerous deep wards, which gives them the vision edge at level 1 for sure. It's just a matter of what they're going to do with it.
Well, Apollo looks to stay safe. He's just hatching his own ward. They're not going to run over too many of these. They do see Adrian, which is the one that they need, even though they're dodging out most. They see that the support is bottom lane, and Sheep has already taken up a spot there as well. Help to Impaler onto his Gromp, and the same thing over to Red. So we're going to get matched up lanes actually for this game. We'll actually might see that jungle pressure towards the mid lane we were talking about, altering how these guys feel it would be going. And Jezz is right now not getting the results he was looking for to start.
It looked like they AoE'd the small monsters on red buff for experience advantage in bottom lane. Now that's actually really, really interesting right there. So something that happened in the off-season changes is in red buff and blue buff, a lot of the experience was moved into the small monsters.
Right.
And with Morgana, Puddle, and Jinx rockets, they can kill those two things really fast, and it immediately gives them a fast level 2, because it's not like doing Krugs or Gromp where it takes them a long time to kill to get that experience. They get it right away because they killed that stuff almost instantly.
Right.
It will hurt Rush at red buff here because he won't get the experience from it, but it's almost like a level 0 gank there, giving up some of his XP to his lane so that they can push.
Well, let's see if it pays off. Apollo and Adrian have been a strong point when others could not on Team Impulse, so that's a good place to start putting a little bit of the strength early game. Just 3 minutes in, they're trying to tilt it in their favor. It's good to see things on the plate early. Impaler very, very low, just goes for a ward in mid, and he's actually going to be heading back. So Trailblazer over for Rush as he starts to head out. Might be the same thing for Impaler as Jezz is here. Low on mana, low on HP, and he actually didn't come to lane with consumables. He came with that ring, and actually the HP probably kept him alive in the end.
Well, Xiao immediately taking it to Jezz's. Keep in mind, Jezz has got his choice of what to play against Lissandra here, and he chose Xerath, knowing that Lissandra was going mid to Xiao. But the way Jezz's approaches mid lane is not to carry the game, it's to become an asset for his team.
Right.
He found so much success on Ziggs with that playstyle last year over in Europe as a mid laner for SK Gaming. And he's just going to look to farm that one out. Not doing so great so far as his CS has been nearly doubled, and he's losing a wave because he had to back early in mid.
Well, Xiao actually, I thought he was going to go for the kill, but he held Ignite there, so he still has quite a bit of lane pressure going back up against Jezz's and may continue to do the same thing. Already coming back with the ability tome to the ring of Jezz's so he can have a little bit more health to try and not go down as fast. Impact on Rumble versus Chris in this lane. You can see not too much has gone on so far in this one. How do we expect that matchup?
The top lane matchup is generally favorable for the Gnar player. Gnar wins most lane matchups if he's not playing against Aurelia, but it also depends on jungle pressure and the players that are doing it right here. Chris is basically going to need to get his Hex Drinker before he can get an edge, and the fact that Impact has a level advantage in this lane right now, and he has the level 5 for the bigger Flame Spitter, means he's winning right now, but it's at high risk. Rumble burning his cooldowns that pushed up in the lane is punishable. Impaler's trying to punish bottom though. What a combo!
Oh, right onto Adrian. Apollo gets knocked out of this one. It could be a kill one way. Apollo doesn't actually see the hook coming in. They were all hovering on Sheep, and he gets hit up.
Flaying into the other combos. Rush, they're going for Chris. He's going to be Mega soon.
Oh, if he Megas out, that'll be what he needed, but they get it just in time. A gank that was a matter of seconds.
Chris misplayed that pretty hard. He wanted to flash the Vault Breaker, but he didn't wait for Rush to actually use it. He flashed, became an easy Vault Breaker for Rush, and an easy kill for Impulse.
Yeah, you think you're going to outplay someone, and you end up outplaying yourself.
Yep.
Right now, the percentage,
He
favor
could
of
die
Pip.
again.
And they're completely denying his wave, and he knows it. He's going to ward up once more so he can at least assess what's going to be coming towards him and try to keep the wave just as far away from it as he can. Yeah, it's safe. But nothing is safe for him right now. And here we go
They're level
once
6
more.
and they know he has no flash.
That's the equalizer. That's the hit. Impact is tanking it just on the outside of the range, so he's out. And Chris puts himself right back in the frying pan. Again to the bottom side. The same 2 die. Complete deja vu.
Yeah, that was deja vu. Absolutely. Impact burning his ultimate. I will have to see the bottom lane gank again. In the top lane for Chris, it was just a little bit of a foolish play to jump back right in there. And here, they didn't have war control. Apollo also in a bad situation without his support. I don't know why he thought that was safe to farm. He needed to just deny himself, otherwise he's giving up a kill. So 2 pretty big mistakes by the laners there. I'd say well-executed ganks for kill 1 and gifts for kill 2 on both sides.
Tight stuff coming into the early part of this game. Hope to be explosive, and so far we're getting the kills we want. 4 in just 7 minutes right now. These have now gone both onto Mash and Sheep in that bottom lane, and also Impact and Rush on the other side respectively. So we're seeing a bit of flip-flop in where the aggression and power can be coming from these teams. Let's see if Rush can use it on the jungler of Vi to keep pressure on his lanes. Right now, Sheep is going to be trying to clear it out a little bit. He actually is waiting on that cooldown of Sweeper he just picked up with Sightstone now upcoming in the lane, so they'll have more vision control over this. And Mashme, he from Mashme of old has definitely changed his play style. A lot more reserved and calculated in his actions.
Yeah, this one he knows he has a big lead that he's able to push. BF sword to pickaxe, as well as a summoner spell advantage. It's on the junglers now to decide if they want to try and snowball the winning lanes harder or help the losing lanes recover. Mid lane is a farm fest. That's Xiao versus Jess's on Xerath. All day, that's mostly going to be farming, unless, you know, they invest heavily with a Jarvan or a Vi gank. But because of the the differences in those side lanes, it needs jungler intervention to not be completely snowballed.
Yeah. Like that needed jungler intervention. Usually Mega Gnar is the form when people walk away from you, not continue the fight. That's not going well for Chris. We saw a little bit of pressure from Rush towards the mid lane. I believe he just threw down a pink ward to make sure he didn't have to return too often. And there's actually 3 pink wards around that mid lane, keeping Xiao and the rest of that area safe. Blue buff over to him, probably going to spell Dragon quite soon as both of the mid laners just picked that up. This is going to be tough if Chris can't get in. Level 8 to level 6. That's tough news.
Really interesting game we have now. I mean, Chris still not even able to get to his Hex Drinker, and Impact has completed a Haunting, guys. And yeah, it's going to be that mid lane gank.
Timing that nicely. Oh, wait a minute, a little miscommunication there. They didn't think Rush was going to go in, but do they have the damage? It's going to burn him down, and Rush gets out by a sliver.
So much for that farm fest. I mean, that could be the gank that swings this game.
Yeah.
The side lanes are one-sided on either side. He's got to be careful about Mega here.
I was going to say, Chris, do not run in between the wall and the turret. You're going to get an equalizer to the face. Keeps himself, we would say, goal side with the rest of the map that keeps him alive. And Impact's just going to keep pushing minions into that wave. They could be able to grab Dragon off this, though. Coast needs to grab something.
Yeah. Surprising back timings. Oh, they stun him into the turret, but before he has tower go, that means Impact might just try and kill him, but he decides to play passively here. To get back to that mid lane gank, as Coast takes the Dragon because they were really heavily committed on that mid lane gank, the Vi plus Lissandra is potentially the most deadly get to a target and kill him combo in the game. Jess is, if he wants to actually live in that matchup, has to forego so much pressure and basically just farm under his turret. Because he was not directly under his turret, he couldn't do that.
That's ridiculous. Everything right there from Mashme going out, and if mid lane's taking a little bit of trouble, this is where Coast could be trying to get it back from. Mashme has a good lead right now, 84 to 64, and the damage control onto Apollo. They have really no sustain to get back into this one just yet. So while mid lane looks really poor for Chessis, hopefully it can come back here. 98 to 74 actually in that mid lane for Xiao. And it's definitely a composition from Impulse that fits this time. Through and through, we didn't see a last pick kind of switch things around.
Yep.
And Rush now trying to make some more pressure towards the bot lane, but he's spotted.
And you can kind of see Rush's mindset right now. He's trying to make every lane win, which is a little bit difficult as a jungler to actually do successfully. He's helped the top lane into a winning situation. He's helped mid lane into a winning situation, but bottom lane is just so far behind. In order for Rush to gank that bottom lane, they need to have vision on Impaler before they can make a play. Make things quite difficult. I'm surprised Rush is actually trying to do that and not just letting them farm for themselves.
Well, they know this is going to be a counter gank coming in. Chris may die. Oh, Impact took actually a lot of damage coming in there. Impaler brings out a lot more than I thought he was going to, and Chris is able to hop out of this one alive. The 1-for-1.
Not bad when you consider that it was 2 solo laners versus a very behind top laner and a jungler. The big benefit there is that Chris lived through that gank, so he gets to farm and catch up in experience more than anything else.
Got a farm, pick themselves up a kill, which is quite nice for the guy that's been quite behind. And Jez's returns back to mid lane. Possibly finding an attack from Xiao Xiao. This is a repeat here.
They know he has no summoners. It really depends on how aggressive they're willing to be and if they're worried about a counter gank. It could be counter ganked here. Rush did walk through a ward.
Well, they almost brought 3.
If Coast plays this right, they can turn it around. They're going to try this gank without an ult, and they actually do spot him out. Rush playing it safe and not just going straight over the back.
So investing some time in trying to take down Jez's. Impaler's going to start realizing that and switch his pathing maybe a little bit. We'll keep an eye on him. The wards right now for Impulse would make these ganks very safe. They have mid lane warded on pretty much all 4 points of it. We just saw that Adrian moved up to put some of those wards down. It was almost a 3-man gank on the Jez's, so they know they need to shut him down, and there's still a lot of pressure going that way. 13 minutes in. Apollo going back to Krugs, trying to catch up. Over 20 CS down here in this bottom lane after dying twice very early.
Yeah, 800 gold is not what you want to be down, but it's 1,000 gold in the mid lane, and Impulse really trying to pressure Jess out of this mid lane and get Xiao Xiao going. And this is a much better way of doing it than just letting him pick a counter matchup in the mid lane, is letting him pick a strong champion that he can carry the game with, and then giving heavy attention to said mid lane. Really enable Xiao Xiao to succeed. That's what Impulse has been doing this game.
And Xiao Xiao is being Xiao Xiao. 130, highest farm in the game right now at 13 minutes, keeping pretty much on par with the time. 20K to 18 right now as Impulse starts to pick up a little bit more gold. The lead really hasn't come from much, but the pressure they're creating all over the map from these kills. Sheep trying to set up that pick one more time for Apollo. They are just trying to edge their way back in here, so this dragon fight doesn't look too bad for them. Chris as well.
Yeah, Apollo and Adrian just trying to survive. Chris was trying to bait a little bit there and shoving while Impact is gone. He's reached, actually, a point where he can stick with Impact and maybe even beat him up, because that's the Gnar Rumble matchup. It is favorable to Gnar once he gets his Hex Drinker.
Yeah.
Rush is actually going to realize he went overboard as well as killed the ward there, because his Raptor Oracle popped before his Vault Breaker over the wall. The Raptor Oracle actually only pops whenever a ward sees you. However, the vision detection radius is not the same as a ward's vision, so you then have to do that wild goose chase for a ward afterwards.
Well, Chris, being so far behind, actually makes the right call. Rush approaches top, and he is forced to back. But now with the vision of where Rush is, you may see Coast going a little harder here in the bottom lane. Impaler is already making those moves. But it doesn't look like he will be there in time for the party. Actually, Adrian may have stayed a little late here. There's the flag and drag. The black shield goes on, and they are going to force the flash. Oh! There's like a pie to the face right there. Apollo flashes it out, but he had already bursted on that collateral damage.
Black shield doesn't stop the physical damage, and Jarvan Graves sure know how to burst that with both of their ultimates. Impaler, in my opinion, making the right choice as a jungler there. He has 2 lanes that are losing that have already had down turrets. Play on your advantages. The gank they did there could not have been counter-ganked unless there were 4 people. As long as Chris is watching the top lane, that's not going to happen, and they get a nice clean kill.
That is a lot of pain. Impact is delivering now with the Haunting Guys finished up. Actually, headed towards the Leandries as well with another tome, unless that's going to be his Seekers for now. But he's ready for the dragon fight. 8 seconds on that, and the TPs are up for the top laners. Looks like he actually wants to get one more buy-in before this fight. Good warding from
Oh
Coast.
boy, Leandri's
Oh, he
completed.
just bought it. Okay, never mind. Must have had a coupon.
That is pretty important if they can make it in position for this dragon. If Impact gets a good ultimate down with Leandri's at this point of the game, it will destroy Coast. Mash, though, with Infinity Edge completed, the strong AD carry. A couple things, if this ends up being a fight, not just a straight-up dragon tank, would be Xiao getting Mash, but it may actually be Impulse just being a little bit too slow, dehyping the whole thing.
They all went back to spend huge amounts of money. Thought that was going to be a nice Dark Binding to take, but the smite goes to Impaler. Had Xiao just gotten back with his needlessly large rod and Seekers he just bought, this may have been different, but Tip felt the buy was more important there, and they thought they had some time.
Yeah, 1 minion wave different. 10 seconds and they're there for that dragon.
Yeah.
Because you want to hit your item power spikes before those big fights, and the item power spikes just took a little bit too long. Now maybe they try that 4-man counter gank if they can get it set up. There's 2, 3,
Whoa!
maybe 4.
I don't know if this is what they wanted right off the bat. They were trying to work off the flashes down on the last engage in the bottom lane, but Impulse this time is able to react and assess the fight onto Mash, and he gets just that into the ground. Chris is going to be the next one. He goes full Gnar, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. Rush is coming in. He's going to get one more punch to ask questions later. That'll be the takedown. Double kill for Rush. Coming up nicely in the jungle this game.
Wow, so, I mean, that was Impact's Rumble coming in and making a monstrous difference to the fight. Well, that's pretty much it. I mean, they're trying to punish Apollo right here, but they don't get a clean initiation onto him, and Adrian lands a beautiful binding. So even if this was just a 3v3, they may have ended up winning that because the initiation was so sloppy. But Impact gets a great equalizer, is able to flash over the wall, and then Rush is there pretty much for the cleanup, getting the priority targets again and again. I mean, that's the team comp coming together. They couldn't find the dragon fight, but that didn't change the fact that Impulse had hit the item power spikes. So when they found the fight with said power spikes, it was easy.
And that was really the fight that Coast would have wanted, right? Coming in with Mega Gnar and a teleport is almost one of the hardest things to do when a fight's happening. It's always your Mega Gnar is down and the fight's happening. So that looked really good for Coast to go so far in favor of Impulse at this point. Their lead, however, is what's been able to win them these fights, and they've had that now for quite some time. Extended it from 2 to 4K at 18 minutes, and the kills are now 7 to 5. It's been a pretty bloody game here to start off game 2 of the day, and Impulse is starting to take a nice lead. Already with the sweepers out, pretty much to clear out anything Coast can do to get back into this game, and deep wards to that bottom side of the jungle if they want anything there.
Typically what happens when 2 of your 3 lanes win. Something Rush was able to do this match, having a very good game on bye. But more importantly, the turnaround gank they have in the bottom lane is usually when these games can break open. The aspects holding Impulse back, though, are the dragons. Being down 2 dragons to 0 puts a lot of pressure on that 3rd dragon, honestly. Being denied the bonus attack damage and ability power does a lot to equalize the game in Coast's favor, especially if they can get move speed on top of that. Oftentimes, I'm seeing again and again the team that picks up the first 2 dragons, if they're doing it as a trade for something or if they're actually sacrificing something heavy, it's not quite worth it. Only because the dragon then at 20 to 25 minutes just gets taken by the other team and all's equal, but now the trades haven't mattered. And they're just taking the losses from those trades. 3 turrets for Impulse versus just 1 for Coast. Somewhat to do with the dragons. More so the game, though.
It's been good movement by Impaler. Every time he sees Rush, he makes sure he's got something. In the top lane, it's been Dragon. Again, once in the top lane for Chris, it was that bottom turret and the gank on Apollo and Adrian. They're trying to make some options. We saw Sheep, I think, just miss, I should say attempt 3 hooks from Fog of War that could have caught them some nice attacks, but nothing happening just yet. Tip is always 1 step ahead.
And if Coast wants to win this, it's going to have to be going against the trends we've been seeing of them not having good mid or late game shot calling, especially since they are playing from a deficit and a turret disadvantage as well.
Yeah, their map is completely opened up. They have some repairing to do.
They basically have to find ways to play around Mash, which is ridiculously difficult against a fed Lissandra. I mean, I would say in order for Coast to win a fight, they have to catch Xiao in a sense, make him burn his cooldowns for survival, and then that will allow MASH to do damage in the back line. But any fight that can be initiated by Xiao onto MASH in a reasonable situation should favor Impulse. And this is going to be that third dragon we're talking about. It's a big disadvantage the Coast is sitting at right now, despite having 2 dragons.
Even getting onto Xiao is going to be tough now that the Zanya's finished. 21 minutes in, he's double item. We're looking at Jez's to finish now just with an needlessly large rod and recipe up to that next one. The power spikes are there for Impulse, and they are definitely posturing on this dragon now. 1 minute for that. This is going to be all about the clearing of the wards. The sweepers are nicely up to do that. This would be a very dangerous fight for Coast to take, but they have the damage from the outside. If they can start getting a poke on, it might look a little bit better. Looking at Rush right now, his ultimate is up. And Impaler actually does not have a level 2 ultimate here, so that's going to hurt.
Chris's teleport literally just came back a second ago. So they could teleport down with Gnar. Impact also has his teleport up again, so they can match. I'm a little bit surprised to not see Impulse in zoning position for this dragon. They're moving there now, but Xiao, like, this is the spot he could be in to get caught. The only thing, in my opinion, that could lose Impulse's fight is Xiao getting too low beforehand.
Will they decide it? So this is just going to be for the wave clear. Unless we have Chris gnarring out, which he's actually about to. I was going to say neither of these guys can really stop each other's teleport, but Chris can now.
Well, they got 15 seconds from that Gnar. And I don't know if they can teleport in time to have a big impact.
Definitely be a more advantageous fight once it wears off. He's not going to be teleporting anytime soon.
Got to go for a steal.
Is going to be up to the smites. That one actually goes over to Apollo. Or rather, that's not Jinx. That's Vi. That's Rush. I was like, oh, it's Jinx. She got it with the cannon.
Nope, the sister of Jinx.
Yep, just the sis. 7-5, no kills for a while here. Just Impulse trying to control the map and doing it quite methodically. After taking the dragon, they're going to head down to the bottom lane. Right of the Arcane used defensively for the turret, and so MASH can get there safely. Good movements by Impulse so far in the mid-game.
Even a Xerath that is behind lands a couple of those shots onto Apollo and takes him down. I'm not sure if that was 2 or 3 shots. Still enough to completely push him off that turret. So Jessis can do his best to try and stall out this game. If you want to stall out a game, look no farther. Pick Xerath. He is the best at it in the mid lane. It's just a matter of whether Impulse has enough diving. Whoa.
Xiao. Whoa. Oh! Gave him the okie doke. Back around. Chris gets himself to safety, but he's forced to use flash on that. And Xiao is just using regular abilities. So he is adding more pressure around the map. That's usually what he does. He's not afraid to keep going 1v1s, take these fights. We've seen it on his Yasuo, not this season, but previously. That's just the way he likes to play. Right now it's working with the rest of the team. Gotten themselves an early lead, and the pressure is working very nicely for them.
266 CS onto Lissandra. He is at 9,500 gold, which is 1,000 higher than the most farmed member of Coast, who is MASH. And the fights will continue to be about just those two at their core. Whether or not Xiao can kill MASH, or whether Xiao gets caught by the rest of Coast, allowing MASH to free hit on Graves.
This is good. Impaler just finishing up the Aegis for the rest of the team. May be able to get into these fights a little bit more for the members that need to. Stay a little bit tankier. Second item for Mash Me now on the Infinity Edge instead of the Static Shiv for Graves this game. So he'll try to be put out big damage. And they're going to have to protect him. Seeing Rush go for him, go for Jez's, trying to get to the back line. He's going to have to keep an eye on his positioning. We're at 25 minutes, and with the Dragon going down over to Coast, or rather, Impulse just recently for their #1. Just getting the jungle denied. This is actually going to be big for Jez's in that wave clear. If he doesn't have a blue buff, they're going to be able to get to the turrets very easily on Impulse's side.
Impulse is going to have to make some nice plays if they want to get this game done for. MASH ults the minion wave. You can tell they don't want to fight anytime soon. And it's really all about how long can Coast defend these outer turrets. Since Coast took the first 2 dragons, the threat of 5 dragons is very distant for Impulse. That's normally what a team does if they are having trouble cracking that second tier of turrets is they wait on 6-minute timers and hope they can find a fight in the jungle. They actually may have found a fight in the jungle outside of turrets.
Oh, that's the catch potential of this team. They were all like 1,000, 2,000 range away, but the fight continues. Impulse is in place, and they start making it happen. Apollo just on the outside, firing in the DPS, and the rest of the team is able to solidify and secure these kills. That's 3 down, only losing Xiao.
Wow, so they did find the fight outside of the turrets despite all the stalling efforts of Coast. Chris and Impaler get caught. And yeah, the fight just goes away from them. Let's see if they can push in onto this Xerath, who because of the Rumble flank can't stick at the turret.
Oh.
Great job by Impact.
Just a flash flame spitter, direct harpoon to keep him in range. Nothing
No.
Jessus could do. He even flashed healed for that.
That was
No-go.
perfect. Xerath needs to sit behind the turrets for the long-range artillery shots. If you can somehow successfully flank him,
He was like thinking of that the whole time, too. Let's see this again.
oh wow, Rush may have just been going for the farm, but he starts it off on Impaler, and the fight just kind of happens. At this point, he locks him down. Xiao can follow up, and this was just Coast not traveling together and being out-rotated, which is a symptom of having no map pressure. They couldn't ward their jungler lanes properly, which means they can get caught out of position, and Impulse collapses faster and better.
Sheep at the last second there. He's like, I want to hit Q again. He brought himself into the
That
fight.
was a mistake.
They have the long-range attack, but the people that need to get over the wall cannot follow you that easily. So Impulse wins another pretty big fight that gives them more than just a fight. A bigger gold lead now up to 6,000 on the dot, and they're 4-2 in turrets, which only means they can walk in that much easier and start getting that deep vision down. You got it. Xiao takes blue, Apollo takes red, and they're going to go right back to it.
Yep, you can see the pings. They want to get that other outer turret. The flankable turrets on Xerath, because Jesses will want to stand behind and wave clear. But with the threat of a Lissandra and Rumble Ultimate and Vi, they may be able to outrange that in a sense. They need to be able to get some pink wards or some heavy sweeping in the side area, though, so their flanks can actually approach.
Yeah. Well, once they approach, they keep going. I'm really loving the Lissandra Vi in this one. Usually you'll see Vi gets kind of flashed out, but with the claw, still able to follow. Sheep goes in. Could be a fight here that they don't want, actually, on the side of Impulse. A great side swipe here from Coast. They take down one. That's going to be Rush as well as Apollo. 3 are now down. Impulse is looking to turn away here, and Impact will fall. This is going to be an ace for Coast as they come up nicely from the side, and it was Impulse that had all the pink ward vision here.
Riv, that was so ridiculously clever by Coast that it completely caught Impulse unawares. The flank was happening when Coast did the initiation. Impulse was too locked in to their plan that they left themselves open to an initiation straight up the gut. I think they're just going to go straight for Baron off of that one because the fight was so clean. They didn't even have to work hard for that one after outsmarting Impulse so well with that initiation.
And they outsmarted them very hard. Look at all the wards they walked and fought over on that fight in the bottom lane. This is going to turn into a Baron. Impaler, watch yourself, sir. He gets out with a tight squeeze on that one.
Yeah, I mean, that fight in a nutshell. Watch this. Impact is around the back. And because the Xerath poke lands, as soon as they get the AD carry, everything went right. It's just go time. But then Rumble still tries to come around the back, right? Xiao, where is he? He's not hitting the AD carry, which is what he needs to be doing for a fight to actually go the way. Mash is on the side here, just destroying. Such a smart fight there by Coast, making all the misplays they've had up to that point just go away by a clean initiation.
Well, we need more of that. The fans want more from Coast. We'll see if they can keep it on the right track. That definitely put them back into this game quite a bit. Remember, we looked at the goal just a few seconds ago. It was 46,000 to 40,000. Now it's 49 to 47. So that deficit closed very quickly for Coast, and the options opening up quickly as well for them. Now as they move on to the side of Impulse, they get their wards down. A little bit of coverage here to possibly create some of the opportunities that they were doing earlier.
Yeah, you can see them.
Still going to be hard. Impulse is still in the lead here.
They have the Baron buff right now. I'm surprised that Impact isn't there just to zone them away. They're giving up a lot of free gold here unless they decide to go in for a fight. He doesn't even TP in behind. He cancels his teleport. It really feels like Impulse is completely in disarray right now.
Yeah, that The Mega Gnar, I think, is what did it for him, and that was perfect timing for Chris. Twice in a row now coming up on these fights to be in that form. Good on him. 31 minutes, this turret will go down. It's just a matter of time. The Baron's going to push them into it. We have the back from Impact, so he will be able to approach, but they're not actually going to try to get anything onto this one. Baron's too much. They're just going to clear the minions.
Not to mention the TP flank is now down for another several minutes. Oh dear.
Whoa. Rush getting ahead of himself. Impact gets grabbed. Watch on the back line. Mash does get hit by Xiao immediately. That's the ability they have, and that's how quickly a fight can turn. Impaler goes down now. Impulse found the one target they needed to start this fight, and the rest of the team is forced to run home.
His game is going back and forth on a knife's edge. There are some definite misplays here, but that's Impulse having so much initiation potential, and Coast having that mismatched team of some poke and some initiation. Not really enough peel if they get hard dived on. Not really the ability to hard dive unless they find just the right spot. And that was Xiao getting his priorities straight. Kill the 80 carry, and boy did that work well for the fight.
And Rush showing a little bit of his solo queue style, going in hard, but I feel it's more calculated, knowing low mana was on.
Full tank. Full tank, and he also dodges most of his skill shots. Then the equalizer comes in, they blow up Sheep, and Xiao boom, just obliterates Mash with a couple of spell casts. At that point, since it was just one layer of poke put down by Jesses, and because most of it was used on the tank Vi, he wasn't able to have a big influence on that fight.
Tank Vi indeed. The Thornmail being picked up here by Rush.
3,100 health, 250 armor, and 110 magic resist.
Big guy.
At the moment.
Big guy indeed. He's been having a lot better games out of the jungle for Impulse here. The fact that Impulse's lanes have been doing a bit better really relieved the pressure that he may have been
that
feeling.
fight, but not against the world. Let's see.
There's something. He's good. He's just taking pop shots right now. Mash can still go down here. That's the collateral damage. It tickled him. They still want this fight. That's the quick exhaust. Soul Shackle onto Sheep and Impaler, and they have made a bit off more than they can chew here. Sheep goes down. Rush is still the main participator in this fight, and he may even get a double kill as he brought that one around completely by himself and turned the tables.
Rush was at one point the #1 ranked player in Korean solo queue, and I've been waiting for him to have a good game on the NALCS stage in professional play. This feels like that game for him.
Yeah, pushing it to the limit.
Absolutely. That was a very solo queue flex type play, but it worked with the team coming up behind him. He stalled just long enough. He knew exactly how strong he was because he was so far ahead right there. 2v1s for a long amount of time, burning plenty of spells off, and amongst the collapse, Impulse is able to pick up all those kills.
All those kills, and again stretching it to a 6,000 gold lead. Let's see it again.
Yeah, this was actually on the backside of the fight where Chris is like, I'm going to mess with the Lissandra. And Xiao says, why would you do that? That's really dumb. Chris dies because Lissandra has too much CC. And then the rest of the fight was 1 3v4 because of the work Rush was able to do before.
I don't know if I've seen any other games with so many cross-map simultaneous kills. Some in the bottom, some in the top. Then again, rinse and repeat.
Yeah, they come in waves.
This is delivering. This is delivering. 1:30 here on to the Dragon. More wards being put in the mid lane by Impulse to keep just some generic vision down to make sure they have an idea of where Coast is roaming and going. Good game so far. Like
very eventful.
Very eventful. Flying back and forth. Now it's up to Coast. Kind of make a reaction on what happened last time. Definitely a flub on that top lane play going for Rush.
I mean, that was the hope that Coast had in the top lane. Was the one fight they were able to win, or bottom lane actually, sorry.
Okay, yeah.
The fight that Coast won in the bottom lane was the glimmer of hope they have in this game, but that only happened because they caught Impulse in the middle of a play. I don't see them making that mistake again. It was mid-flank while they're trying to go around a turret. Yeah. There's not many more flanks to be done. The rest of this game is actually a little bit more brute force from Impulse. They need to get vision inside Coast to jungle, control Baron, and then use that Baron to push in. They'll pick up Dragon number 3, then probably transition to control of Baron. It might be a while before this one ends if they can't find the right fight.
Well, knowing that's on the board, obviously Coast has it in mind as well. They can't really set up the fight around Dragon in 20 seconds. They're going to be forced into their turret. 7,000 gold down. Engage looks very, very scary. Chris is actually just about to gnaw out in the bottom lane. He actually did, so he's going to be backed on that one, and he won't have that for the fight. Impact and the rest of the team playing this one very slow as they make sure waves are getting pushed up and they ping onto Baron.
Yeah, even without the vision control and with Dragon up, I thought they would take this one a little slower. But they have very deep vision. If they can clear out all the other wards, this would be a more advisable play. They haven't spent long enough in here for the wards to actually die out from Coast.
Yeah, sweepers are pretty much all on cooldown as well, except for Adrian. So I was going to say they went to Baron a little early, but it was to set up bait behind red, which was seen out by Coast. So they don't get an ambush just on that. Maybe they're going to go for the Baron now.
Don't even sweep the pit.
Fully
now
hitting
they
it.
do.
That's going to be teleported to. They cannot clear it. Baron's down to about a quarter. And it's going to be Impact getting hit up. Chris is in Gnar form, so he is definitely going to be able to help this fight. Jesus gets hit, but he was fighting somebody he didn't really need to. Chris's offerings would have been better over here in this. Double kill coming up for Xiao. Then Chris is the focus as he just doesn't have anybody to fight. He was looking from the sideline on that one as an innocent bystander. 3 for 0 for Tip.
Yep, that's the fight. They take the shortcut. Don't need to take third dragon. Go straight for Baron. Coast with a sloppy collapse in. Jess is getting himself in range without tanks in front of him. Easy fight there for Impulse to pick up. 3 kills on the now recently death cap purchased Lissandra.
Now, it's not the first time. We mentioned it before. Chris kind of heading for the wrong target as the team goes for a fight. Once again, it kind of pulls Impulse into what they need for now the mid and the top inhibitor turrets and inhibitors. That's going to be the walkout now for Impulse. They'll make one last stride towards the base most likely. Coast, they have a chance here to stop it, but
Impulse wasn't touched in that last fight, so they can
long.
actually just go straight back to the Baron.
Yeah.
Yes, it would be nice to kind of spend the thousands of gold they have in their pocket, but they don't need to. Not with this guy doing that. Wow, Xiao completely destroys Sheep.
399 CI. He's actually farming Raptors on the way out. This guy loves to farm. His team's doing Baron. He's saying, we're about to win. I'll take Raptors, sure. This will be Impaler trying to pick up Dragon, really scraping things together and give themselves something to work back with in this game.
Yikes. So Xiao just bought an Abyssal Scepter straight up when he went back to base. We'll take a look at this fight one more time. Rush walks down onto Jesses, makes the fight. Nice shot there, Xiao ulting post flash to make sure there's no escape. Could be a nice trap, but it would be a trap on the tank again. Let's see what wizardry he can pull.
Let's start the clock. How long does he stay alive versus 4? Good Lord, he is not going to even go down to half health from the abilities of 4 members from Coast, and Rush still wants more of the fight. The team is baroned up, and they are heading straight for the base of Coast. Xiao has already clawed over the wall, so they're forced to chase, and there is the claw cooldown once again. Chris will be the first one. He'll go out of Gnar and have some movement speed to work with. The Vault Breaker hits, and Rush still wants to be on the front line. It's Tip now moving into the base.
One has to ask who is baiting whom in these situations. Rush walking around doing whatever he wants, tanking up the final inhibitor turret. This looks like Impulse has it in the bag.
Pretty impressive game from Impulse. A few missteps here and there, but they were really able to right a lot of the wrongs in this game. Come out very convincingly, taking the game now. 40 minutes as they start on the Nexus turrets. It's only going to be a few last attempts from Coast to stop the bleeding. However, the slide still continues for them, and Impulse are able to pick up a win here over Coast.
24 kills in a 39-minute game. Definitely an action-packed game. Impulse living up to their name, playing very impulsive in this one. It does punish them at one point in the game, but because they had a well-crafted team comp there, they don't actually wait to counterpick Xiao's mid laner. They picked it right at the start of the game, and then in-game, they played around his talents. It also allowed Rush to succeed because he could late pick his jungle. One of the better games that I've seen Impulse play this season.
You know, if you call back to that time Xiao picked something else in mid, and he said, I won't do that. I won't play what I didn't practice. That's kind of what we were seeing. And then he went back to something that he played, and we saw Xiao again. 400 CS in a 39-minute game. Everybody coming up big there. In the bottom lane, I got to give props to Apollo and Adrian. Not for taking the hits early game.
They took
had
a lot of
some
hits
misplayed,
early.
but they stuck strong with it. They came back.
I mean, that was one of the big stories about this game, is there were 2 incredibly lopsided lanes.
Yeah.
Top lane Impact was super far ahead of Chris. Chris had an awful game. And bottom lane, Apollo and Adrian against Mash and Sheep. with Mash and Sheep coming out on top again and again. Yet, Rush was able to pressure 2 lanes and then get a turnaround gank on the bottom. And when that happened, the game really turned. Rush right there on the screen. He's got to feel good after that one. Unkillable. 6-1-11.
Yeah, definitely a different game for this guy. Really been calculating the attacks he goes in on. The team seems to be much more in sync with the attacks they're going in on. Usually we would see a lot of back and forth and miscommunication. Those seem to be righted. And for Coast, things to be, you know, the early game, they can make plays. We see Impaler making the right moves. When Rush was top, they went bottom. They got Dragon, they got a turret, but they just can't seem to capitalize on those advantages and put them somewhere else. Continue to push.
A tough first 4 weeks there for Coast. 1-7, alone in last place in the NALCS right now. And small wins that they need to be able to take home from these things. They know that they have games where they perform very well in lane, but the team play is lacking a little bit, and they need to find more ways to create advantages in the mid game. You know, the fight they found when they were behind was exactly what they needed to do.
Yeah.
It just couldn't carry them through because Xiao was a little bit too farmed.
A little too farm. I think that's the story of Xiao all the time. Switching gears, our friends Imagine Dragons stopped by Primetime League to talk a little League of Legends and perform some songs off their new album. And for us here at the NALCS, they offered up a special acoustic performance of their new single, Shots.
Am I out of my place when I keep saying that I'm looking for an empty space? Oh, I'm wishing you're here, but I'm wishing you're gone. I can't have you and I'm only gonna do you wrong. Oh, I'm gonna mess this up. Oh, this is just my luck, over and over and over again. I'm sorry for everything, oh, everything I've done. From the second day I was born, it seems I had a loaded gun. Then I shot a hole through everything I love. I shot a hole through every single thing that I love. Am I out of luck? Am I waiting to break? I keep saying that I'm looking for a way to escape. Oh, wishing I had what I'll take it for granted. I can't have you and I'm only gonna do you wrong. Oh, I'm gonna mess this up. Oh, this is just my luck, over and over and over again. I'm sorry for everything, oh, everything I've done. From the second day I was born, it seems I had a loaded gun. Then I shot a hole through everything I love. I shot a hole through every single thing that I love. In the meantime, we let it go at the roadside that we used to know. We can let this drift away, let this drift away at the bayside that we used to show in the moonlight. We let it go, we can let this drift away, let this drift away. And there's always time to change your mind, and there's always time to change your mind, oh love. Can you hear me? Oh, let it drift away. I'm sorry for everything, oh, everything I've done. On the second day I was born, since I had a loaded gun. Then I shot a hole through everything I love. I shot a hole through every single thing. In the meantime, we let it go at the roadside. We used to know we can let this drift away, let this drift away at the bedside. We used to show in the moonlight. We let it go, we can let this drift away, let this drift away. And there's always time to change your mind, and there's always time to change your mind, oh love. Can you hear me? Oh, let it drift away.
Imagine Dragons' new album, Smoke and Mirrors, drops this Tuesday. We are going to step away for a brief break, but don't go anywhere. Up next is the showdown we've all been waiting for. Counter Logic Gaming and Team Solo Mid are taking to the stage for a battle for first place. Stick with us.
Since I joined CLG, this rivalry has existed. It's really the legacy of CLG versus TSM that's battling out.
I think the clash coming is just getting more and more epic day by day.
Short and simple, TSM is just better. How many times has CLG won NA?
The buildup for that old rivalry to come together again, that will be a very exciting matchup.